So we call that underneath the dirt. That part right there, once again, is the parent material. It's where all the dirt actually comes from. That dirt used to be rock, and the rock has been getting broken. So that's what soil is. Soil. It means the same thing as dirt. And it's rock that has been beaten up, weathered. And trees help, right? Trees and roots and vegetables and even grass, those roots help break up the dirt into smaller and smaller pieces. And when they die, their nutrients, what's inside of them, becomes part of the soil, and it makes it healthy. Okay, now this takes a long time. It takes 100 years for about an inch of soil to form. That much, 100 years. So you can see that a young soil is mostly rock and only a little bit of dirt. And it's hard to grow things when you don't have much dirt. But if you give it enough time, it'll start to make what's called the A horizon. And it has good nutrients in it to grow food and crops and plants. And if you get a really old, well-developed soil, right? We start out as little kids, babies, then we become teenagers, and then adults, and then we get old like our grandparents. That's this one right here, okay? And notice it has A horizon, B horizon, and even C horizon. And old soil has 3 major horizons. I'll tell you more about those before we're done today. Now, that's if soil forms in place, all in one spot. But we know because of erosion, erosion means to move the soil and rock away, soil can go different places. Look at this one. As the sides of the hill get beat up, the soil goes into the river. And the river looks dirty, but it's carrying that soil somewhere else. This is down by New Orleans. We can see all this soil coming down from the river and building what we call a delta. A delta, like the bottom of the United States, Louisiana, has that little boot that comes off. This one is amazing to me. This is a glacier. Glacier, big ice, sometimes a mile thick. It can carry all kinds of boulders, big pieces of rock, and it can carry them thousands of miles away. And they don't match the rock that's underneath them. They've been moved. Here we see another one where sediment has come down the side of the hill and formed a mountain itself. All right, so we can figure out what's in our soil by using a little, it's called a sifter, or a sieve. And you put soil in it and you shake it. And it's got all these different screens. And so each level of it gives you a different size of particle that's in the soil. So I took some pictures. I did this a few years ago. And we see that that's what gravel and pebbles look like. See how they're all kind of different shapes and different sizes? Some are big, some are a little bit smaller, some are kind of round, others are jagged. So a lot of differences in the big pieces. But when we go to the next level, sand is much smaller, and they're starting to look more and more the same. Not as many weird, different ones that stick out. Now watch what happens when we get to the bottom. The bottom, they all look the same. Remember, that's called silt or clay. It's like flour that you cook with, very soft, and you can't even see the little individual pieces. They're so tiny. Quite a difference, isn't it? Big. medium, small. And that's all in our dirt. All right, I mentioned those horizons. So we want to know their names. Horizon A is on the top, so we call it the topsoil. That's easy. And horizon A, you can see here in this picture, is darker color. And the reason for that is the nutrients that are in it, the roots of the plants. When things die, that goes into the topsoil and stays there and makes it healthy, organic. We can grow things. And that's why it's darker. Underneath the topsoil, we have horizon B, which is called the subsoil. Think of submarine. Where does a submarine go? Underwater. The subway, trains, they're under the street. Sub, below. Sub-zero. When it gets very cold, we say it's sub-zero temperatures. Below zero. So subsoil is below the topsoil. And it's usually made of mostly clay. And it's because the earth is really just a giant sieve. When we shake it, the clay goes to the bottom. The same thing happens in the ground. When the ground gets beat up or weathered, the clay goes to the bottom. Horizon C. It is just called Horizon C. That's easy. There's no name for it. A, B, C, topsoil, subsoil, C. Well, Horizon C it's actually the first one that forms. It's just rock that has started to break, started to get beat up. So that's the first thing that happens. But they typically do form out of order. We'll go all the way back. The order that we usually find them is C, then A, and the last one, the oldest soil, forms the B horizon once that clay shakes out. So the correct order is C, A, B,